When we think about the signs of Qiyamah, the end of times in the Islamic tradition, our minds almost automatically jump to the dramatic stuff, right? We picture massive cosmic shifts, epic battles, or earth-shattering events. But today, we're exploring a profound prophecy from our source texts that's entirely different. It's happening right now, literally right under our noses, but it's completely silent. It's this steady, quiet erosion that is completely reshaping the entire Islamic world. And the craziest part? It doesn't make the evening news. It doesn't trend on social media.
Because this specific sign, it doesn't arrive with roaring earthquakes or marching armies. No, it happens quietly. It happens in a hospital room in Cairo, maybe a small home in Medina, or a quiet masjid in Indonesia. It happens when an old scholar, a master who has spent, say, 70 years just absorbing, internalizing, and truly living the tradition, closes his eyes for the absolute last time. And when he takes that final breath, all that immense, beautifully nuanced knowledge living in his heart, it just goes with him. It's a really sobering thought, because we aren't talking about books disappearing. The libraries are packed. We're talking about losing the human custodians, the actual people who know how to read the map.
Okay, let's dive into this, because to really grasp what's happening, we have to look directly at the source. Over 14 centuries ago, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spelled out this exact mechanism in a very famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari. He said, Allah does not take away knowledge by snatching it from the hearts of people, but He takes it away through the death of scholars. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that true knowledge doesn't vanish because governments ban it or somebody burns all the books. It vanishes through human attrition, generational loss. It is an agonizingly slow process, honestly. Just one funeral at a time, the tradition thins out. And eventually, people are left asking the biggest questions of their lives to people who simply don't have the real answers.
And this brilliantly illustrates how Islamic knowledge was actually designed to be preserved. It's all about the isnad, the chain of transmission. See, true traditional scholarship isn't just about reading a bunch of books. It never was. It's a living, breathing, person-to-person chain that stretches all the way back, unbroken, to revelation itself. Think about it like a relay race. The Prophet taught the companions directly, heart to heart. Then they passed the baton to the tabi'in, who passed it down to the great imams, and so on. A true scholar receives living knowledge from a teacher, who got it from their teacher, tracing all the way back up this timeline. So, when a master passes away before transferring that deep understanding to the next generation of students, a link literally breaks. The rope gets thinner.
Now, you might be thinking, hold on a second. My phone is absolutely overflowing with Islamic content. How on earth is knowledge disappearing? Well, we really need to separate information from knowledge. They are absolutely not the same thing. Information is data. It's a quick search engine result. It's a viral clip giving you 3 fast facts. I mean, you can Google the 2.5% zakat ruling in, 3 seconds? But knowledge, true, traditional knowledge, is deeply internalized wisdom. It's the context. It's understanding the spirit of the law. A search engine just spits out raw data, but a living scholar gives you the precise, careful application of that data to your highly specific, messy human life. So yes, information is exploding right now, but genuine, wisdom-laden knowledge, that is exactly what's slipping away.
To really appreciate the magnitude of what we're losing, we have to look at what it actually takes to forge a genuine scholar, an alim. We're not talking about a weekend certificate course or a quick online boot camp. This requires 10 to 15 years of grueling full-time study. It's massive. We are talking about mastering classical Arabic at the highest possible grammatical levels, memorizing the Quran, mastering tajweed and tafsir, authenticating wildly complex hadith chains, diving deep into fiqh, which is jurisprudence, and aqidah, Islamic theology. It's a literal mountain to climb. You just can't produce a scholar on demand. It takes decades of serious investment. And right now, these profoundly interdisciplinary masters are passing away, way faster than the next generation can step up to replace them.
And, as we know, nature abhors a vacuum. When the real giants leave us, who exactly rushes in to fill the void? It usually boils down to 3 categories of, digital chaos. First up, you have the self-taught. Look, they are super sincere, reading all the time, but they completely lack a living teacher to correct their blind spots. Then you've got the platform-empowered. These are the folks who confuse a ring light, a good microphone, and 1 million followers with an actual scholarly license, an ijaza. And finally, the most dangerous group, the ideologically motivated. They actively cherry-pick and manipulate sacred texts to push predetermined political or sectarian agendas. When the true scholars are gone, these are the voices rushing in, confidently issuing fatwas and, unfortunately, leading a lot of people astray.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights the true engine driving this modern crisis, the algorithm.
Social media algorithms are brutally efficient, but let's be real, they do not care at all about scholarly accuracy. They reward controversy. They reward extreme, unshakable confidence. The algorithm takes the guy given a quick, black-and-white 30-second ruling and shoots him straight to the top of your feed. Traditional scholarship, it's the exact opposite. It demands deep nuance. It requires specific, situational context. And above all, it requires the immense humility to look at a complicated question and say, I don't know. But in our digital age, the loudest, most confident voice wins, completely drowning out the actual traditionally trained scholars who absolutely refuse to reduce complex theology into cheap clickbait.
Let's just pause for a second and really reflect on this. In just recent living memory, the global community has lost absolute giants of scholarship. We're talking about luminaries like Sheikh Abdulaziz ibn Baz, Sheikh al-Albani, Sheikh al-Uthaymin. These were scholars whose interdisciplinary command and massive, lifelong contributions served as foundational pillars for millions of people. They possessed the kind of deep, lived, fully internalized knowledge that you just can't algorithmically generate. It can't be replaced overnight. When masters of this incredible caliber pass away, it leaves us facing a pretty terrifying question. Who exactly is being rigorously trained right now to take their place?
And that brings us to the sheer scale of the situation. 1.8 billion. Think about that number for a second. That is the current global Muslim population, and it is growing incredibly fast. But at the exact same time, the traditional institutions that historically produced our scholars, like Al-Azhar or Zaytuna, they're facing major modern disruptions, and the overall pool of true generalist scholars is shrinking. So we have this soaring, massive demand for guidance and a rapidly dwindling supply of qualified guides. The math alone is just staggering. When 1.8 billion people desperately need answers, and the traditional scholars aren't there, you can clearly see exactly why those algorithmically empowered vacuum fillers we talked about earlier are gaining so much traction.
But look, this explainer is absolutely not meant to leave you in despair. There is a very actionable path forward here. Let's move to and see how this builds into the 5 clear steps our source material outlines for families and communities to resist this decline. Number 1. Honor and financially support the living scholars we still have. Number 2, families have got to be willing to send their brightest, most capable children to study Islam full-time, honoring that path just as highly as becoming a doctor or an engineer. 3, be a fiercely discerning consumer. Check the credentials behind every piece of content you hit share on. 4, make urgent, consistent dua or prayer for the scholars. And 5, step out of passive consumption and become a student of knowledge yourself. Go find a local class and sit in it.
We constantly have to remind ourselves of this fundamental promise found in Surah Al-Hijr. Allah protects the Quran itself, the core text. It's perfectly secure. However, the broader tradition, that deep contextual understanding and the actual application of Islamic knowledge, that relies heavily on human custodians. If you are a student of knowledge watching this right now, your role has literally never been more critical. I mean it. Those quiet hours you spend grinding through complex Arabic grammar or jurisprudence, while maybe your peers are out chasing viral fame, it matters immensely. You are holding the chain. You are the human custodian ensuring that this living tradition actually survives to see another generation.
So, the biggest takeaway today is that this silent sign is a reality, but it's one we can absolutely push back against. I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Who are you following, and are you accidentally letting the chain of knowledge break right in your hands? Every single time you hit share on an unqualified piece of content, instead of seeking out a grounded, traditionally trained scholar, you're kind of casting a vote for the future of knowledge. So challenge your media consumption today. Seek out true, qualified scholarship. Let's keep the chain alive. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.